Hey there, so today I am going to show you the absolute fastest way, in my opinion, to build your ad grant account from basically just being approved for the Google grant to being up and running with campaigns, keywords, ads, and extensions. So I get this question by heaps of nonprofit marketers and really just managers that really want to know the quickest way to get their ad grant up and running. Now, I would never recommend taking any shortcuts, but in the rare situation, if you are in dire need of quickly building your ad grant, perhaps you're time poor, which I'm sure everybody is, and you just want to get a couple campaigns up and running before you sort of take a little bit more time and do your keyword research and really put a little bit more time and effort into the account. So I've created this quick little checklist here that we're going to go through one by one. And basically these are the absolute campaigns that you'll need to have, including the brand campaign and then a generic campaign. And then we'll need to upload extensions, which are also called assets. And these are going to be 4 site links, 4 callouts, and 1 call extension if you do have a phone number for your organization. We're going to finish up with conversion tracking. So obviously a way to be able to judge success of the new campaigns you've built. And then I'll lastly show you one of my favorite rules for Google Ad Grants, which is the compliance rule. And that will be quality score. It is less than 3, and we want to make sure to pause those keywords so that we don't run into any issues with compliance along the way. All right, so strap in, and we are about to take the quickest journey to build your Google Ad Grant account, starting with the brand campaign. So when you're in your Google Ads account, this is going to be ads.google.com. It should look just like this. You might be using the new experience. So just bear in mind that Google does change how Google Ads looks a lot. So if your view looks a little bit different, the process might be slightly different. So just go ahead and give yourself some patience, check around. You can always, I tell clients, you can always search up in the search bar if you're trying to look for something specifically, keywords, ads, whatever. So just keep that in mind. So brand campaign is number 1. What is a brand campaign? A brand campaign is basically whenever someone is typing in your brand name, you want your advertisement to show up first in the paid position for it. Okay, so I am going to take Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada, just a random organization, and use them for the very quick ad grant build. So a brand campaign for them is going to be Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. That'll be a brand keyword. Maybe you also use LLS, so like something short, and so forth. So let's go ahead and go into the Google Ad Grant account, and we'll go create campaign. You can also hit the blue plus button here, whatever works for you. New campaign. And now I'll go ahead and walk you through a few settings that you'll want to set up when creating your brand campaign. I generally always just go create campaign without a Google guidance. And now in your Google grant, you can only use search campaigns. So unfortunately, none of these other campaign types are allowed. So just click search. And then we are going to pretend like we do not have any conversions set up yet, because we will need to set those up in the steps. So we'll just hit continue for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to select website visit. So what results we want to get from this campaign. We obviously want users to go to this website here. So I'll go ahead and copy the domain and just put it in there. And now for the name, it can be anything like search, brand, and then like you can put LLS. And then I generally like to also denote either the location or the match type of the campaign in the initial name, just so that I can really sort through things when you get more and more campaigns. So for this campaign, match type isn't as important for your brand name. So I will probably just put broad, and then the location targeting is going to be Canada, because that's where the organization is located. So again, the name does not matter. I can't stress that enough. Do not worry about the name. It's just easier for you down the track to be able to optimize. Hit continue. And now bidding with your Google Grants account, you always will either use maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. So using these bid strategies will allow you to bid more than $2 in your Google grant. So if you accidentally have clicked impression share or clicks, maximize clicks, you're only going to be able to bid $2, which is no good. So make sure that you've got conversions or conversion value. I always recommend starting on conversions. You can always switch over to conversion value once you have those values attributed. Now, don't set a target cost per action to start. We just want to keep it open. So we want to give Google, we don't really want to set any parameters on how much a conversion should cost. Hit next. Now, with your grant account, you'll want to deselect both the search network and the display network, so you aren't actually allowed to run on Google Search Partners or with display expansion. So just make sure those are unchecked. And now your target location, for this one, I'm just going to target Canada. You can get, really specific with targeting just provinces or states if you're in the US or, whatever that may be. Just the quickest way for us is just going to be targeting by country. Location options, make sure that you have selected present, so people in or regular in your target location. Okay, so it defaults to people regularly in or who've shown interest in your targeted location. Okay, so these people can be anywhere in the world and, searching for, your brand name or similar keywords. So we want to make sure rather that we've only selected presence. Okay, see heaps of Google grants where they don't know about this and it really messes up their performance. Okay, we'll keep this on English just for now. We're not going to add any audience segments because this is just really basically how to build a quick campaign. Broad mesh keyword setting, we'll just keep that on off for now. And there are different ad settings in here if you need to schedule this campaign, start and end dates, whatever. We're not going to set anything for now. We'll hit next. Okay, so ad group number 1. So this is going to be our brand campaign. So I'm just going to rename this ad group 1 to pure brand. Now that's just a term in the industry that basically means your pure brand name. If you didn't want to name it pure brand, you could even name it like LLS or even write Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, whatever it is you want to name it. The idea is to name it something that you can then be able to recognize in the future. Okay, so now it's going to give us a boatload of suggestions, which in this scenario aren't going to really help us so much because we're just going for our brand keywords. So I'm just going to select them all and remove. And then all I'm going to do is use Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. So that's going to be one keyword. And I'm not going to put any characters around it because that's just going to be a broad keyword. So in your brand campaign, you can use all 3 match types. It's pretty much open. It's not really going to matter so much. So I generally like to start out using all 3 and then just really see what's going to perform the best. So when you put quotes around a keyword, that makes it phrase match. And then when you put brackets around a keyword, that makes it exact match. So I'm going to put all 3 in this campaign to start. And then I'm also going to put LLS because I know that is what the organization goes by for short, LLS. And then we'll do LLS in exact match. Oops, exact match. Okay. So now we just really have 2 keywords, but in reality we have 6. We're using different match types. Okay, and that's really it for that. We're going to go ahead and scroll down. So that ad group is basically finished. So then we're going to go ahead and scroll down. And then this is going to pop us straight into writing the advertisement. Okay, so the final URL is the landing page, or rather where you want this advertisement to head to. So we'll just keep that bloodcancers.ca, that's fine. That's the home page, especially for a brand campaign. The display path is sort of going to clean up the final URL. So if you want to add additional parameters in the display path, if it is your brand, you don't really need to worry about writing, anything in the display path. It's generally utilized, in a generic campaign. So then in headlines, it's going to give us a boatload of suggestions here. Really take these with a grain of salt. Like Canada is not a good headline. So just read through these and decide if they're good keywords. If not, or headlines, excuse me, if they're not, go ahead and update them. Now we have up to 15 headlines that we can use. I would recommend using as many as possible. So I generally like to use all 15, but it does take a little bit more time. So we'll probably just do, 5 in this example, just so that we don't take up too much time. So now let's go ahead and scroll down. And then generally for brand, you want to put your brand name in headline number 1. So I'm going to put Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Okay. And now I'm also going to just hit Alt 0174 and then put sort of that registered trademark. So that basically just builds a little bit more trust in sort of, your organization. And especially if you see, 3 ads on the search results page and one of them has the registered symbol, then it really just, you're obviously going to choose the one that has the registered symbol. I've also seen people put official at the end. Sometimes I like to do that. Like there's just the words OFFICIIL. So like Leukemia and Lymphoma Society official. But in this scenario, we only have 30 characters, so that won't work for us. And these character limits are hard limits, so you are not able to go over the 30. So if you, keep going and you're over the 30, you won't even be able to submit the ad. So I get that question a lot. People think they can go 30, 31 and just get by, but you can't. So let's go ahead and just do a couple more headlines for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So of course you'll know your organization. It'll be much easier for you to write advertisements because you know how to speak to your target, what sort of services you offer, your mission statement and so forth. Okay, so I've went ahead and compiled some headlines for this client. So the first being Leukemia and Lymphoma Society with a registered trademark. Canadians need your support. Help provide critical support. Will you help change lives? ? Your donation saves lives, and every $1 donated becomes 3. So really, as a nonprofit, you really want to have something on offer, right? So you want to really sweeten the pot when you're writing ads. So that's why I've added the every $1 donated becomes 3, because this is something that obviously like tripling the donation or matching the donation, even if that you have that available for people, to really give them a little bit more reason to donate, right? Especially in today's sort of competitive landscape. If you're just saying, here's my organization, this is what we do, this is who we help, it's not enough, right? You really need to give the user or searcher a reason to click on your ad, a reason to donate. That's something to really keep in mind. So now that we've added 6 headlines, again, I would recommend 15, but because we're just doing this very quickly, I've only gone with 6. We'll scroll down further, and then we have to add 4 different headline or description lines. So description lines are they appear below the ad and they give you 90 characters to just give a little bit of more information about your organization, what you do, that offer that you have, or who you help. So I'll go ahead and paste some description lines that I've written up, and then we'll go on to finishing the build. All right, so now I've put together 4 different description lines. Will you help us raise $150,000 by December 16th? Make your donation today and we'll triple it. Your donation helps provide critical support for individuals living with blood cancer. Will you help us improve the lives of 155,000 Canadians affected by blood cancer? And all donations will be tripled, so every $1 becomes 3. Donate now. So you'll notice that anytime you're a nonprofit, you want to use numbers or statistics. I always see like the will you help us raise a certain amount by a certain date generally works really well, as well as statistics. So will you help improve the lives of 155,000 affected by blood cancer? So would definitely recommend anytime you can use numbers, dollar handles, or statistics with a nonprofit in general, always going to work best. So now that we've written our 4 description lines, we're not going to write the rest of the extensions in this campaign right here. All we're going to do is scroll to the very bottom and hit next. So average daily budget for the campaign. So basically this is asking us how much we want to spend per day on the campaign. So with your brand campaign, you don't really want to ever have it limited. But that being said, depending on how big your brand is, of course, it's going to depend how much your brand campaign can spend. I would say let's go ahead and put this one on $150 or even $200 per day. It's fine just to start off. So generally you get $10,000 per month to spend across your Google grant. Now that is generally broken down in a per day spend. So if we take 10,000 divided by 31 days in the month, we're looking at about 333, around 320 to 330 really your grant campaign can spend per day. So if you only have one campaign, you can absolutely put the budget at, 330 per day. However, we're going to have two separate campaigns just for now, the brand campaign and a generic campaign. So I'm just going to set this around 150 to give us a go, and the other campaign will probably be about 150 as well just to get started. Again, I would recommend not ever limiting your brand. So if your brand can spend your full budget in the Google grant, then absolutely you should allow it to spend the full budget, because generally we see the best performance from the brand campaign in terms of donations, in terms of people taking action on site. So let's hit next. And this is just going to check through the campaign, make sure there's no errors, make sure that everything that is necessary to be in the campaign is, and we're all good. So we're just going to hit publish campaign. Okay, so that is quickly how to build a brand campaign directly in the Google Ads platform, choosing the keywords first and then creating the ads. So the second campaign we are going to quickly create is a generic campaign. So the difference between this campaign and the brand campaign is that your generic campaign wouldn't include any of your brand name keywords, right? So if your Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada, your generic campaign would not include that. So you're looking for your leukemia support, help with lymphoma, that sort of thing. You want to keep your brand and generic campaigns separate because performance is going to be different in both campaigns, and also the advertisement should be slightly different per campaign, right? So someone who already potentially knows your brand name, you want to speak to them a bit differently, right, than someone who doesn't know your brand name, right? You need to give them a bit more information about you to build up that know, like, and trust versus someone who already potentially knows you and potentially trust you, right? So let's get straight into our generic campaign. We can see that we've already created our brand campaign here. So I'm just going to go back up to the campaign level. And then I'm going to go blue plus button again, new campaign. And the build is going to be slightly similar to the brand campaign, so just bear with me here. I go create without goal guidance, search, and then we're just going to remove all of these for now. And then we'll talk about these in another step. Hit continue. Website visits again, and then we'll want to go ahead and paste the website URL. And then for the name, we want to definitely keep the naming structure similar to the brand campaign that we already set up. So in that case, we want to put search, and then we'll put generic instead of brand. And then we'll put broad, because we are going to use broad match keywords in this campaign. And then we also put Canada because that's where the location is. Hit continue. And we remember that we always want to use maximize conversions. We'll hit next. We want to uncheck display and search. Go ahead and update the location targeting to Canada. Location options, change to presence, people in or regularly in. And then all we are going to do is hit next. And this ad group is basically going to, what we're going to do is start choosing our keywords. So there are a boatload of different options to choose generic keywords. Now you could go out and do your keyword research, as I recommend. However, that does take a little bit more time to get going. There's another option. You could just come in here and just take all of the suggestions that Google gives you. obviously have a read through them and just make sure that they make sense for the organization, but you are absolutely able to just take all of these keywords and run with them. One thing I will note is with your Google Grant, you cannot use single word keywords. So leukemia is against policy, lymphoma is against policy, and I think that's it here. So just make sure that your keywords are at least 2 words so that your account doesn't get taken away from you. So absolutely, you can go with just using these search keywords that they give you. You can also go on your website, have a look at what keywords you can find. However, the fastest way, in my opinion, is going to be to build a dynamic campaign, a dynamic search campaign. So in order to do that, we want to switch from a standard ad group. So we'll go ahead and click on this bin. Yes, remove. So Google doesn't necessarily allow you, or in the old experience that I'm using, they don't allow you to create a dynamic ad group straight away. So all we're going to do is we're just going to take away all of these keywords. So we don't want any keywords in the campaign. And then we're just going to scroll down, and then we're just going to hit next. Okay, average daily campaign. Again, let's make this 150 and hit next. And now we are getting some errors here. So just keep in mind that there will be errors. Okay, now the errors have gone away. So we're just gonna hit publish campaign. Publish. So we're publishing a campaign that's not set up all the way. That's on purpose. So we just sort of want to publish the campaign shell, and now we're going to come back in and change this ad group to dynamic. So go ahead back into this campaign, click on the campaign level, and then we're going to go into the ad group level, and then what we're going to do is hit the plus button here, and now it's going to bring us into the new ad group. And we're going to change from standard to dynamic. Okay, and hit continue. All right, so dynamic basically is going to look on your landing pages, or look on your website rather, and Google's going to pull different keywords from your website and use those to run your ads, basically. So you don't necessarily choose keywords in a dynamic campaign. You choose ad targets or landing pages. So there's a few different options. Now this will only work if you have a bit of SEO set up on your website. So basically Google can actually find keywords on your website. If Google can't find any keywords, and when you choose dynamic and you scroll down and you don't see anything in here, like you don't see any categories, then this isn't going to work for you because Google can't match any keywords on your website. So if that is the case, you'll need to go back and manually add those keywords, like I'd said in the previous step. But because this website is nicely built, Google can find heaps of different categories on the website, so this is a good sign. So the first thing, I generally recommend splitting this out by topics or categories. So just taking a look here, we have lymphoma. So we have a few different types of lymphoma. And then we also, if we scroll down, we have leukemia and a few different types of leukemia. And then, so these are a bit branched too, okay? So just to start, I would likely just do the lymphoma categories first, and then the leukemia categories in a separate ad group, okay? So let's just go ahead and call this lymphoma dynamic. And now we're going to select all of the lymphoma categories. Okay, so I think that's all for this one, and then we'll hit save and continue. And now it's asking us to write a dynamic advertisement. So with dynamic advertisements, they're so easy because you only need to include 2 description lines, the final URL, so where they are sent on your website, and the headlines and the display URLs are all automatically generated by Google, right? So you only need to add 2 description lines. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and add a couple description lines here that are relevant to lymphoma. All right, so I've added 2 separate description lines under 90 characters each that are relevant to lymphoma specifically. Generally, someone that is searching for lymphoma type keywords is going to be someone who either has it or knows someone who has it. They're looking for support. So I've created 2 description lines here. The blood cancer community is here to support you every step of the way. Learn more. Learn about lymphoma from science to diagnosis and treatment. Read more. Okay, so we've added our 2 description lines. We can hit done and we can hit save and continue. Okay, so now we can go back into this campaign here, and we'll go ahead and just pause or remove this initial ad group. That's just the standard ad group in there. This is just going to be a dynamic campaign, and then we'll also go ahead and add the second ad group in there, one for leukemia as well. So it's going to be the exact same process. Change it from standard to dynamic, continue, and now we're going to type in leukemia. And then we'll scroll down, and then we'll just go ahead and start selecting all of the leukemia keywords. Okay, so that's good. And now we'll hit save and continue. And the same goes for this. So we just need to craft 2 separate description lines that are going to be relevant to someone who has leukemia. All right, so I've now crafted 2 separate description lines that are relevant to someone who might be searching for support services or information on leukemia. So we'll go ahead and hit done or save and continue. And now this should show us that we have our 2 ad groups, one being lymphoma dynamic and the other being leukemia dynamic as well. Now you can go ahead and I'll probably just change this to dynamic as well. Just add that into the ad group name. I like things to look similar. So now we are basically done with our dynamic campaign. So as you can see, dynamic campaigns are really easy to build as long as Google can find keywords and suggest categories on your website. Absolutely recommend adding these into your account. Now, one thing I would see with dynamic campaigns is that you want to add negative terms to your dynamic campaign in neighboring campaigns. So in the brand campaign, we don't want any of our brand keywords to be coming into this generic dynamic campaign. So all we have to do is go into the generic campaign itself and go negative keywords, add negative keywords. And then all we really want to do is add all of those brand keywords that were in our other campaign. So I'll go ahead and just quickly read LLS, and then the last brand keyword is okay. And we'll just do all of the match types again. So this can be exact. And then we just need to simply add broad as well. Okay, so now basically we want to tell Google that anytime any of these keywords appear, to go ahead and send it to the brand campaign and to not send them into this dynamic campaign. We can just hit save to make sure that the keywords pop up. And now we can see they're as negatives just to this campaign. Okay, cool. So now we have quickly created our second campaign, which is going to be our generic campaign. We, instead of choosing keywords, we chose categories, and we crafted the advertisements or created 2 dynamic descriptions for each of the ad groups. So now we need to move on to the extensions, and I recommend for the extensions that we always add at least 4 site links, 4 callouts, and 1 call extension if you want people or people are able to call your organization. So now let's jump back into the account, the campaign level. And I did just notice a bit of a mistake here. So in the campaign name, I actually named Search Generic Broad Canada. Let's go ahead and move this. I want to go ahead and just change this to dynamic because it's going to be a dynamic campaign, not a search campaign. And then I'm going to call this categories instead. So I just wanted to make sure that I called that out. So this is a dynamic campaign, generic keywords, categories, is what we're targeting, and Canada is the location. So I just wanted to fix that up. If you're anything like me, I like things to be nice and clean in the account. All right, so extensions. So let's go ahead and click into ads and assets, and then let's go to assets, which is where extensions now live. They used to be called extensions. So we need to do site links, callouts, and a call extension. So hit the blue plus button, and we're going to go site link. So right here. And now basically for our 4 site links, you have site link text, which is sort of the headline text. You have 25 characters, and then 2 description lines of 35 characters each, and then a final URL. So these site links are clickable. So once you upload these, the user will actively potentially click on them and go to various pages on your website. So I'm going to quickly paste in some site links here, and then we're going to talk about them. All right, so I've created 4 separate site links, the first being leukemia. So if a user sees an ad and they see the leukemia site link, they might just want to click directly to the leukemia page. I also have donate now. So any of like your major call to actions, you want to make sure that they are included in site links. I've included donate now and then volunteer as well, or volunteer with us, because these are sort of 2 of the big goals for the organization. And then lastly, personalized support. You could even do something like one-on-one support, or even get free support, something like that, because that is one of the main things that they're calling out on their website as well, that people with leukemia and lymphoma can get free support. So these are all 3 separate site links, as you can see. Now the site link headline, description, and the description lines will show, or can show rather. It's up to Google what will show. So it can just be the site link text. It can be the site link text and the description lines. As we see here, a desktop version has both description lines as well. And the of course, the bluish type text is clickable. So these all have to go to separate landing pages, so you can't just send them all to the same landing page. That is something that I did want to call out. Like if you try to send them all to the home page, you'll get an error in here. You won't be able to submit them because they're going to the same page. So keep that in mind. They do need to go to separate places. We also want to keep these at the account level. Now you can create separate site links per campaign, but the fastest way is to just keep them at the account level. So we'll hit save. And now we've quickly created our 4 site links. So we can see here, status is pending under review. So that'll be take 24 to 48 hours, and then hopefully they'll say approved, they'll be eligible. So now let's create our call out extensions. So same process, blue plus button under assets. Let's go call outs. Call out extensions are just text or groups of keywords or whatever that you want to use to really urge the user to click on the ad. So the call out text will appear below the actual description lines of the advertisement. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste a few in here. Help end blood cancers, and then let's go donate now or donate today, whatever you like, make a donation. And then let's go become a volunteer. And then let's do support your community, things like that. Okay, so now you can see sort of what it will look like. Google can choose to show them all, to show none. It really just depends on the luck of the draw. You can see that they're not clickable, as we didn't add any landing page to send them to. So it's really just additional text or additional space for you to add more text to get a user to click on the advertisement. So I would always recommend, like I said, numbers, statistics. I know I didn't include them here. I wanted to make it quite generic, but numbers, statistics, questions, question mark, things like that always work really well. So obviously, like, you'll know your organization, you know how to talk to your target. So, be conversational. Don't be, like I see a lot of nonprofits, talk at their target, like talk with them like you're having a conversation. Just picture that your target, the person of your target is sitting in the room next to you. You're just having conversation, chatting about what you can offer them. So make sure that you talk to people like that on a personal level in your ads, right? Not so formal as we do see a lot of nonprofits go a little bit too formal. All right, so we have 4 call outs. Make sure that they're account level, like I said with the site links, and hit save. And the last extension that we need to put is the call extension. So the call extension is something that will pop up below the ad that will let the user click and then make a phone call or go out straight out to the dialer so that they can get a hold of your organization straight away. So if you have a phone number for your organization that users are allowed to call to contact you, absolutely would recommend doing a call extension. So blue plus button, and we're going to go ahead and keep this at the account level, create new, and for this client it is going to be Canada. And then go ahead and paste in your phone number. Okay, I'm just gonna remove these. Okay, that looks good. And then go ahead and advanced options. Now, something that I do see a lot of people miss is actually scheduling this. So if your hotline or this number if people are able to call it 24/7, then fabulous, you don't need to schedule it. But if your phone number is only available during business hours, like 9 to 5, you have someone sitting at a desk answering calls, then you'll absolutely need to change this schedule. So all you do is click advanced options, and then if it's Monday through Friday, or if it's all days, whatever that is, and then if we'll say, for example, we'll just say it's 9 a.m. is when someone starts. I've even seen some people do 9:15 to sort of give a little bit of time for the call staff to get situated and ready for the first calls. And then if it's 5 p.m., that's going to be 17. Oh, looks like it's different. So that's 5 p.m. here. Again, if you want to do it like a little bit before 5 p.m., it's really up to you. So now we're only showing our call extension when someone is available to pick it up, which is really key. And that's it. Hit save for there. If you do not have a phone number, you don't want people calling you, don't add a call extension. It'll be really bad for your performance if people are trying to call you and you're not picking up or you're not answering. Okay, so now we have created our extensions. So we've created 4 site links, 4 call outs, and 1 call extension. Now onto conversion tracking. So if you remember, we told Google to go ahead and maximize conversions as the bid strategy for both of these campaigns. So now we need to actively give Google conversions to maximize, right? And this is one of the main requirements of the Google grant, is that you are tracking conversions. So this is really key to do on your website. So let's go ahead and go tools and settings, and let's go conversions. And let's begin setting up these conversions. So there are hundreds of different conversion actions, or rather, that you can set up in your Google Grants account. So I did want to go ahead and show us the Ad Grant help document so that you are sort of aware of the requirements for the Google Grant. So up here it says that you need to have at least 1 conversion type below set up in your account, and then it must accrue at least 1 conversion per month to comply with our policy. They also shout that you need to track meaningful actions. So when someone is actually doing actions on site, not when they're just, visiting at least 2 pages, or, you have a timer for how long they've been on site. These really aren't considered meaningful conversions, right? So in the below, they're saying that you need to at least set up one of these conversion actions. So you need to either track a monetary transaction or a donation, track a sign up or a lead, track engagement, track hotline or support line phone calls, or track when a customer installs your app or completes in-app actions. So the quickest way for us to set up the Google Grant is going to be the track hotline or support line phone calls, right? So we're just going to, in this example, just set up phone call tracking. We're not going to be setting up any of the other conversion actions or categories, rather, that are in this the requirements form. To set up any of these other conversions, you will need to utilize either Google Analytics 4 or Google Tag Manager. So there are sort of other additional steps you will need to follow to set up the full suite of conversions. So keeping that in mind, let's go back into the account, and then let's set up the phone call conversion. So we'll hit new conversion action. And then for this scenario, this is going to be phone calls. So track calls from your ads or website. And now there's 3 separate options that we have here. We're going to, in this example, select calls from ads using the call extension or call only ads. So this basically is going to track a conversion when a user clicks on that call extension that we just set up. Okay, so we'll hit continue. All right, and then it's going to be a phone call lead. That's fine, and that's a primary conversion, so everything's fine there. Our conversion name, we are going to call this calls from call extension. Okay, and then we want to assign a value. This is really your preference. If you want to say, for example, how much a phone call is worth to your organization, you can use the same monetary value. And then we want to go ahead in Canadian dollar. And let's say that every time someone calls your organization, it's worth $1. We can just keep that as is. If you don't want to use values, just don't assign a value. It's really up to your preference. Okay, so now the count, we want to select this as 1. So basically that means if someone accidentally clicks your phone number 10 times, it will only track 1 conversion, not every single conversion. Okay, and the call length, so this basically says that there's a minimum length that a call needs to last to count as a conversion. If we go back into the Google Ad Grant guide, it tells us that the ad grant needs to be minimum of 30-second call length. So basically we can go back in here and just change this to 30 seconds if we want. It's probably better to keep it at 60 because if you think about it, someone's phone call that is less than 60 seconds isn't probably going to be a good conversion for your organization. So it's really up to you. Some people even set this a bit higher, like if you want to set it, at 120 or whatever that may be. For now, let's keep it at 60, but keep in mind at least 30 for this one. All right, click through window. We'll keep that 30, attribution, data driven, everything's good. Create and continue. Okay, so that's just telling us that the conversions action is set up, and we'll hit done. Okay, so now we can see this conversion has been set up. So we have 1 set up in the account. Again, absolutely would recommend that you set up as many as possible, or track, revenue when someone signs up, when someone, enters your funnel. But for this example, and the very fastest way is just to set up the phone call lead. So now what we want to do is go ahead and head back to the campaigns. So just to sort of do a quick update, we have now set up conversion tracking properly, just using the 1 call conversion. And now we want to go ahead and click into one of the campaigns. We'll go into settings. So now that we're in settings, we want to hit goals, and then we want to use the account goal settings. So we want to make sure that we use that phone call lead as a conversion. So we hadn't set that up before we created the campaign, so that's why it wasn't, that's sort of another step we have to do. So we'll go into the brand campaign as well, and we'll just go ahead and go into settings, and then we'll, under the goal section, we'll switch it to account goal settings so that it uses that phone call lead or calls from ads. All right, so now just as like a separate bit of settings, we can go into settings and account settings, and then we can go ahead and make sure that call reporting is turned on. So basically this gives us detailed information about the call we receive. So that will obviously generally be off. You want to make sure to click it on. And then, you can have a look at if you want to utilize any of the other call reporting options. And then we'll go ahead and also click Manage Conversion Settings. So I'm going to just hit Save here. And then I'm going to go into Tools and Settings and Conversions, and then the Settings. And then we want to make sure that we actually select, so Call Conversion Action, we want to choose calls from the call extension. Okay, so that's the exact conversion action that we just set up. Okay, so that's just a way to track more detailed information and reporting about the calls that you're receiving from your organization. Okay, so the last thing that we need to set up is the compliance rule. So there are several different compliance rules that Google sets up, or rather just rules that Google puts together to make sure that all ad grants are being used properly by nonprofit organizations. So there are a few different compliance rules that you need to be aware of, absolutely. So one of the main compliance rules is that no keywords in your account can have a quality score of less than 3 or 1 or 2. Okay, so it's unlikely that our brand campaign is going to have a quality score of less than 1 or less than 3, but let's go ahead and set up the rule, just because if you are creating your ad grant account for the first time, this is one of the major things that you want to make sure that you keep an eye on. So tools and settings, then we'll go into the rules, which is under the bulk actions. So now we are going to set up a rule that basically runs in the background of your account to pause any keywords that have a quality score that are against the Google Ad Grant rules. So under the automated rules, we'll hit the blue plus button, and then we're going to do keyword rules. And then we'll just name this quality score rule. It's fine. And then we want to specify the action. So it's going to be keywords in the selected accounts. And then what we want to do is go ahead and add a condition, which is going to be quality score. And then we want to specify it's less than 3. Apply. So quality score is less than 3, and then choose what happens, pause. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, but let's go over it again. So this is any keywords in the selected account, which is going to be this account, Ad Grant Accelerated Course, which will be your Google Grant name here. We want to go ahead and pause those keywords that have a quality score of less than 3. Okay. So now we want to run this rule. You can run it weekly if you like. However, I generally tend to just run it monthly, sort of at the end of the month. So just, it can be just at midnight to 1 a.m. using the data from the last 30 days. Okay, so Google does the checks once a month on your account to make sure that your account is compliant. So I generally like to run this rule at the very end of the month. Just to make sure that any keywords that have a quality score of 1 to 2 are paused before Google does its full checks. All right, and then email results, I generally do no emails. I don't like getting emails when this rule runs, but if you do, if you're that person, then you can absolutely add your email there. Okay, so you can preview the rule to say that if the rule ran right this second, would it pause any keywords? And it says no. Which we know because we just have those few brand keywords. So we'll just hit save rule. So now this is going to basically run on its own once a month at the end of the month on the 20th day of the month between midnight and 1 a.m. It's going to pause any keywords that have a quality score of less than 3. Okay, so that's just going to make sure that our account remains compliant and that we don't run into any issues with any keywords that have low quality scores that could get us in trouble. Okay, all right, so now that is the end of compliance rule, setting up that rule to make sure that our account remains compliant. So this is actively the end of the video to show you how you can very, very quickly, or rather the quickest way to set up your Google Ad Grant account. Again, we started off and we made our brand campaign. We went through a generic dynamic search campaign. We did our extensions or assets, set up conversion tracking for that call extension, and then we set up the compliance rule. Okay, so again, this is the fastest way to build your Google Ad Grant account, and let me know if you have used this process on your Google Grant. I'd love to hear any performance or if your account has started spending. And yeah, let me know any other videos that you guys would like to see. I do have in the works some optimization videos, so I'll be showing those to you guys in the coming weeks of sort of how to maintain your account once it's active. And if you need some help with your Google Grant, perhaps you started building your account and you've run into some issues, go ahead and give me a shout. I am happy to help with any problems that you have. And if you are interested in getting a mini course to learn how to get your first 20 leads from your Google grant, then go ahead and click the link below, and I will be able to share this with you so that you can get on track to really tracking conversions that are valuable to your organization, and getting more people in the door, getting more leads that will hopefully in turn make grow your organization with donations or their support. So thank you so much for sticking with me, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Chat soon.